Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ankney with Auto Success Magazine. I appreciate you all coming today and to hear Fran Taylor and Doug Hillyard. We're going to have a conversation today about how Doug, in his very first year in the business, sold over 400 cars. I really appreciate you all attending. Fran, go ahead, man.
All right. I thank you all, too, and I'd like to give a special thanks for Doug Hillyard. You guys got to understand, in 1982, I got in the car business, and a few years later, I got into training. I have never met anybody in my entire 28 years of traveling the United States that sold 400 cars their very first year in the car business. And what's so special about Doug, or one of the many things, it was in a town of 15,000 people. So, Doug, I appreciate you coming on. So I'm going to turn it over with you. Just start sharing some of the secrets you did or some of the things that helped you do these monstrous numbers.
Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me here today. And, Fran, thank you most of all, because without your training with the Fran Taylor techniques, I would have never got to where I got to. The level of success I had, I can ultimately say 99% of it came from your training with me, Fran, so I appreciate all that. First off, one of the first things Fran taught me was the birthday box. As silly as the birthday box sounded, I thought to myself, what the heck, this guy, I'm gonna try it. It works, guys. Sending out birthday cards every year is just unbelievable. So that's one of the very first things I started working on. And I used to send out the birthday cards because I just had started, so I sent them out to my orphaned customers that were orphaned to me in the contact management. Let everybody know that I was their new salesperson. Worked wonderful. So don't ever underestimate your contact management because it does work if you use it. So that's about it. And then I went on to bigger and better things. I sold more cars, and sooner or later my dealership bought me a billboard, and that kind of morphed into a thing of its own because I had a pretty awesome picture on there. And a lot of people come in and talk about it. And those billboards, I shrunk them down and made them into refrigerator magnets, and every house I went into, I put at least 10 of them on somebody's refrigerator, whether they knew it or not. So it was a running joke around the neighborhood, but everybody had one. And obviously stickers. Stickers are very important. I watched Mike Davenport's video the other day, and it was wonderful what he did, and I used to do the same thing, putting stickers everywhere. Now, he went a little overboard on putting them inside the door jams and stuff. Personally, I never did that. I wish I would have thought about it, because I would have done it if I would have thought about it. But and over underneath where they open the latch on the back, that was a great idea on his part. Phone calls every morning, guys. I made a list every night. And I actually had a running list nonstop on my guests that I used that I called every day. I made sure I touched base with everybody. And always wrote down every night what I could do the next day to move to my goals. So that was very important. I'm going to tell you that after taking Fran's training, I really found out that without effective prospecting, that most salespeople will never reach any serious level of success. You really must learn how to prospect. Most salespeople will probably become just average or leave the business in a short time because they never learn to prospect or they don't invest in prospecting. Most dealerships will always have turnovers in the sales department because their salespeople were never taught to prospect the proper way to prospect. Most salespeople will have a tough time building a solid repeat and referral business because they never learned to prospect. And this is some of the stuff that Fran can actually teach you. If you haven't got Taylor Techniques books yet, you need to get on board with this. Most salespeople will never reach their true potential because they just don't invest in prospecting. I'm now a manager at a Honda store, and my job becomes frustrating at times just because I see the potential in a lot of my salespeople, but yet they don't do the things that are necessary to give them lasting success. When times are busy, people tend to get lazy, and then they get slow, and people tend to get scared. You never need to be scared if you invest in this program and use it to your advantage. It honestly does work. If you don't prospect them, they will not come, simply put. So, guys, do yourself a favor, buy Fran's training, and use it. Use it to the best of your ability.
Okay, when we first met, Doug, one of the first things I did with you, and, I did this every day. I mean, for a week with you. I was there the first week you were in, got into business, and we talked about goals every day. We did the steps of sales every day, and, of course, we got into prospecting. Can you share with us about some of them 11 goals, how they can change a salesperson's life if they don't know about it?
Yeah, I sure can. Obviously, first off, let me just say that the steps of the sale, and everybody knows the meet and greet. I mean, anybody can walk out in a lot and ask the customer, "Can I help you?" Never say that, guys. Yeah, you always want to walk out and say, "Hello, welcome to, et cetera, my name is, and you are," and reach your hand out. Guaranteed you don't get that canned response of "just looking." So, and then obviously, before you do anything else, you want to qualify your customer and find a vehicle that fits them. And that's what we mean by qualifying. Stay away from price out in the lot, guys. You want to sell the sizzle, not the steak. You want to do your walk around. Yeah, that's what Fran taught me at the beginning. You want to do your walk around, guys, and that's when you're selling the sizzle. Your test drive, you write up, close them. And remember, guys, if all things line up at the end of the sale, such as both decision makers are there, the right color car you have, and everything's there, there's only two objections any sale will come down to. And those two is price or think about it. So one of the things Fran taught me was to always ask the customer when I was doing my qualifying who the lucky one was and how long they've been thinking about it. Because if you can take that out of the equation at the end of the sale, you just took that objection out of it. Because, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I understand you'd like to think about it, but at the beginning you already told me you've been thinking about it for 6 weeks now. Because remember, guys, when customers come into your lot, they've already did their shopping on the Internet. They're there to buy. They just need to find a salesman that's willing to help them to buy.
Well, that's awesome. And now the other thing that stuck out like a sore thumb to me, I mean, you were number one out of, I'm going to say 150 salespeople in all the dealerships and locations, but you never missed the steps of the sales, even when you were selling 40 cars a month. Now, we talk about that a lot of times to the salespeople, how somebody says, yeah, I'll take it, so they spin them around the block or don't do a service walk. What do you have to say to those guys who shortcut the steps of the sale?
Well, they're shortcutting their paychecks, for sure. Honestly, guys, most of us work on commission, and you really shortcut your commission big time when you don't follow the steps of the sale. I just want you to all know one thing. Selling this many cars, do not think that I didn't go home at night and my legs hurt, I was beat, I didn't have much of a social life for a while. But it's all right, because once you get one of them $24,000 paychecks in a month, it kind of makes life a little bit easier. So bear in mind, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of hustle. And just so you understand, the car lot that I worked on was old. It was actually the oldest Subaru dealership in America, where the first Subaru was actually sold at. And the detail department and the service department, well, let's just say the service department was probably 100 yards away from the sales department, and the detail department was probably another 100 yards away from the service department. So I did a lot of running at that time. Wasn't laid out like dealerships today where everything's under one roof. So it definitely, you have to work. You have to be ready to work. And when you can do the steps of the sale and sell your business, sell your dealership, sell yourself, and sell the people around you, you're remember, anytime value exceeds price by 1 cent, they'll buy value every time.
Well, I hear guys all the time, they don't do a service walk, and you're 100 yards away and you still stop and show service because that's part of building value in the steps of the sale every time, correct?
Correct, Fran, correct.
Okay. A couple other things, too, is, you work morning to night, and you came in early. I'm just curious, every time I visited up there, you were always on the phone, and other guys were walking around, so, you pretty much came to work, but how did you find so many customers to work right off the bat?
Well, obviously, I was fortunate because I'm a pretty outgoing guy, so I would tell everybody. But again, it goes back to that birthday box idea of yours that I started working and realized that when people started coming in to see me from the letters I sent out, that hey, there's something to these orphan customers. So I really prospected all them orphan customers, and I would call them all every day that had the right numbers in. I mean, some of them obviously were old and numbers were changed and stuff, but a lot of people were already back in the buying cycle. So that helped me tremendously. And everything just kept building from there.
Yeah. Did the goal setting help your life? I think that's on page 7 in our book. Now, we talked about that earlier, and I think when you start having personal goals, and there's where you buy the prospecting tools, I think you get more secure and more aggressive. What's your input on that?
Well, I always say this from a famous man, a good man, Zig Ziglar always said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. And I believe that wholeheartedly. My life is built around that saying. I've always set goals. When you build goals and you put a deadline to them, you will reach it. If all you've got to do is believe in yourself and go for it and do the things necessary to get there. Remember, if you don't have a plan, you'll hit your target every time. If you plan and set a determination and go for it, you'll get there every time. You just gotta, setting goals is big. I set goals every day in my life now. I set goals. I set big goals, I set small goals. But I set goals to get to my goals. And it's very important.
Yeah, that's true. I have you on video when you were trying to get to 30. Well, you blew by that twice. You ended up doing 40-plus cards a month twice your first year in the business. And, we were talking about, the magnets and the stickers and the prospecting tools you have. I think it's safe to say the more of those tools you get, the more money you make.
It was a double-edged sword because when I started in the business, I was pretty broke, and I didn't want to spend any money to get any prospecting tools. But once we did that birthday box, as we talked about, and I thought it was old-fashioned, but that really worked great. And then I started going after these people on the orphan customers. Things just kind of took off from there. When I sold 20 cars a month for 3 months in a row, my dealership said, hey, you can get a billboard and we'll pay for it. I was fortunate that way. They put a billboard up, and like I said, that morphed into refrigerator magnets that I used. That was another one of these prospecting tools that were just huge, and my stickers also. And from there, everything just snowballed. It was crazy. And remember, friend, you also taught me all the time to ask for referrals, which at first when you're not good at that kind of stuff, it seems off the wall to just ask somebody when you just sold them a $30,000 car. However, I don't care who you are. If you're in the market to buy a new vehicle, you definitely know somebody that is also in the market because you're talking to other people about it.
Well, that's the other thing that was special about you. I remember when at lunchtime we'd go out prospecting different places, and I'd say, point out somebody you think I'm afraid to say hello to. I think a lot of salespeople are afraid to go out and talk to somebody. I mean, I was the same way when I started, but because you stuck with it, and after a while, I don't think you're afraid to talk to anybody in the world when you're out prospecting. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, fortunately, I'm just an old country boy, from the mountains of PA. Obviously, Fran, you know, we like hunting and everything. And when I first started in the business, I'll give you a little story. I wore my, what we like to call shit kickers around here, but I wore them every day, and my bosses and everybody were like, you can't wear them, you've got to get dress shoes, and I put them on, but because I was running so much on the pavement, it just killed my feet, so I put my boots back on. Well, you know, a funny thing happened. Once I started selling 30-plus cars a month, a whole mess of other people in the business in my dealership started wearing boots too. But, I mean, that's a little sidetrack note there on everything, but to go back to it, going into, I think, Fran, the first place you took me was a little bar across the street from the dealership, or down the road a ways. Crippled Bear was the name of it. And I remember you talking to people, and I was like, oh, my God, this is a rough bar. But it just, you know what, everybody was receptive, and I said to myself, my God, if this guy can come in here from out of town and talk to these people, and they like him that much, it's a no-brainer. I can do that anywhere.
Well, see, that's so awesome. You bought into everything, and, you know, that's why I'm so honored to have you on the phone, because there's a lot of young people out here that they're like I was. I was afraid to do it. I'd cherry pick who I'd go to or who I think I wouldn't offend. But after a while, man, I'd talk to anybody. And that's what's so special about you and all the different things you did. You got into the prospecting. You got into that daily routine, you know, making phone calls. You weren't afraid to send out mailers. But what you did is you did it in excess. You spent more time making the money or spent more time doing the things that make you all the money, where a lot of the guys in your store or a lot of other stores as well, they'd be walking around trying to wait and fight for an up, where you paid your dues right from the beginning. You got good work habits in the beginning, and one of the major things is, when, like you said, when you go out talking to people. I don't think that a lot of people understand if you talk to 15 people a day, that's 450 chances to sell a car a month. There's no way you can't sell cars when you do that. And you were fortunate enough to buy into it, but I think what helped you is someone showing you instead of saying just go talk to somebody.
Well, not just that, Fran, absolutely. But remember, I also had the attitude, I'm a competitor, always have been, and I have a very strong drive. And if you were going to go out and talk to 15 people a day, I was going to go out and talk to 45 people a day, because I was going to be better than the next guy, and that's just who I am. And sometimes I feel like to be a winner, to be successful in this business, you have to have drive and determination. Now, all these tools work, but they will not do it for you. You have to put them into play. And that's what you taught me when we started training with you, Fran, is that you can have these things, you can get beer coasters, you can get stickers, but they won't work unless you use them. I've got salespeople in my dealership right now that watch these videos that these guys put on here and say, wow, that's awesome, I'm going to get them stickers. And I watch the time click away 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, and they still haven't got them, but they still talk about getting them.
Well, you know, it's really amazing. Now, here's a big question I know a lot of people are thinking. How in the world can you sell 40 cars a month and still have time to go talk to 15 or more, 20 people a day?
Well, first off, my average was 36 a month. So you can do the numbers. I think I haven't done that in a while. 430-some cars is what would end up at. But just so you know, obviously, service was huge. And it was funny because I'd always end up with a customer when everybody else was slow and sitting there, you know, complaining about no customers. And I would always walk into service and ask people. I mean, they're sitting there bored to death, watching a little TV in the corner somewhere. My gosh, why wouldn't they want to? I mean, half of them get up, stretch their legs, and walk around a lot anyways. So I asked anybody if they wanted an update on the new vehicle lines, what's new in the cars. And so then that morphed into talking to my service managers every day and finding out who was coming in and what brand of car they had and how old it was, when they bought it, and all that. And again, all that stuff come up in my customer contact. And when I take their information back to customer contact, find out who the salesman was, whether they still work there or not. And it never ceased to amaze me that I would tell a salesman their customers at service, and, you know, they bought this car from you 3 years ago. Why don't you go talk to them? I'm not going over there and bother them. Okay. So I'd go over and I'd tell their customer, and they wouldn't even know it was their customer, even after I told them. So it's very important that you find ways to talk to people. We used to go to the mall on my lunch break. I'd go down the store. We had a little strip mall down there, and I would go down and got just made friends with everybody down there, and handed out my cards and stuff, and started the referral and the bird dog, and everything just morphed into something bigger.
Yeah. All right, Brian, we're down to 20. We have 10 minutes left. If it's okay, there's several people wrote some questions in. There might be some people asking questions there. Would you take a second, Brian, tell them if they want to ask a question, how they can send it in?
Yes. Guys, if anybody would like to ask a question, please go to the chat on your screen, and you can just type it in, and then I will ask the question. And I'll get things kicked off. I got a couple of them from 30 Sales a Month, questions people had that they emailed to me in advance. And you know what, guys? You're all welcome to message me on any of these webinars in advance, or send me an email if you have a question that you want to definitely get answered. A gentleman named Harry from Cherry Hill, New Jersey said, "Why did you put up billboards, and how well did that in particular work for you?"
Well, Harry, great question. I was pretty proud of my billboard. When I first put my billboard up, the dealership told me they'd help me market when I started selling 20-plus cars a month. For 3 months in a row, they come to me and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to help you market yourself. People seem to like you." I said, "Great." And I thought about it for a while, and they were selling billboards at the time. The guy that came in, I actually was trying to sell him a car, and I made friends with him. And I said, "How much are one of them?" And so, anyways, make a long story short, I got the billboard. I put a picture up with me pointing. It was, and they actually, the dealership I worked for at the time said, "Oh, we can't have that up. You look mean on that," because I guess I'm a mean-looking guy. I don't know how it goes. But I was pointing, and I said, "I want you at so-and-so Subaru." Well, it just so happened that people started coming in and looking for me because of the billboard, because I did something different, not just something mundane with the guy standing there with the suit and tie on, you know, with his hands crossed in the front. I did something different, and I stood out. And, I mean, even parents would come in with their kids, and they'd run in pointing looking for me. So, good question, Harry. That billboard worked well. I had it from, now we worked in a town of 15,000, like Fran said, but I'm from a town of 5,000, and it started as one billboard, ended up in 3 billboards in a 30-mile radius from where I lived to where I worked. And I had 3 billboards on the way there and on the way back home. So every day people seen that on their commute to work.
Great. I've got a question here from Bill. It says, "How many orphans were you given when you started?"
Oh, geez, Bill, I couldn't tell you the exact number. What happens is every time somebody quit, got fired, retired, or whatever, and a new guy started, they orphan you customers. So there was a lot of them in there. Now, mind you, Bill, that I wasn't a big contact management until I met Fran, and he said, "Doug, you got a prospect," and he showed me that birthday box, and I said, I can use that, because I said, "Fran, I don't have any customers." And he said, "Here's how to get them." So I got in there, and I started messing with that stuff, and that's what morphed into something bigger.
All right, I got one from Gary. Gary said, "Doug, what was your gross average?"
Well, it's hard to say. You know, I worked at a dealership that netted everything online when it come to new cars. So that was tough. I will tell you that my first year I made $187,000, just a little over. So you can do the math of 400 cars and just divide that. And hey, guys, our salary came out of our commissions too. So that was all pretty much true commission at that point. And my biggest month, like I said, was $24,000. So.
Great. I got a question from Zach. Zach says, I do special finance. What could you recommend to overcome issues with small LTVs and what not? When I was, let's see, he's doing 12 to 15 a month right now.
Well, Zach, I'm not sure I understand his question. To overcome the loan-to-value on their cars, I'm not sure I understand that. That would be more of a question for a finance manager, I would think. But you need to know your inventory and put them on the right car that can hold. If he's talking about a customer being buried in their car, then he needs to know his inventory and where they're in it at so that he can put them into the right vehicle in order to get it financed.
Okay.
Here's
another. I have another email question for you. This is from Tracy. How many hours a day do you really work when you're selling, and what did you do? Like, what did your day look like?
Well, Tracy, good question. I worked bell to bell every day. I guess we started at 9 a.m. We had to have a company meeting every morning at 9 a.m. Because I come from the construction field and I was up at 5 a.m., I was actually at the dealership at 7:30 in the morning not knowing what to do with myself. And I noticed people would come on the lot shopping or whatever before work or just getting off a third shift or whatever. So I ended up with a lot of customers that way to the point where the manager finally gave me the key to the dealership because it got cold out and he must have felt bad for me or something. So that was one thing. I used to get a lot of ups in the morning just by being the first one there. Also, the birthday box was huge and starting on the orphan customers. Like I said, I had phone calls every morning to make. I didn't care. You know, you can go through your cell phone right now and some of you might have over 1,000 contacts in your cell phone that all know what you do, but do they really remember what you do or do they really remember you? When was the last time you went through all your contacts and touched base with them and let them know you're here, even with a text? It don't get any simpler than that. And again, like I said, I had a list at night. I would write down what I can do to move closer to my goal the next day, and I had that list and tried to do all that kind of stuff the next day. So other than that, guys, working the service department every day, making my phone calls every day, and everywhere I went, I gave out business cards and let people know about my referral. Facebook was huge, and it was a lot newer at the time, and I always used that constantly. And I did what they called a redneck special on YouTube, and I think they're still out there floating around if you want to YouTube them. But I had fun with it. And, again, I was a little different, did things a little different, but that's what you got to do to stand out, guys. And people won't remember you if you don't make them remember you.
All right. I've got one here from Sherry. It says, I've been selling for 10 years, doing 18 a month. You know, what should I do to get to your level?
Well, first off, Sherry, you're at a great level. At 18 a month, you're pushing it every month, so that's good. Sherry, all you can do is talk to more people. And, you know, the prospecting, all these tools in Fran Taylor's book really do work. You just got to use them. I asked you this question, Sherry. If you're selling 18 a month continuously, doing what you're doing, then why wouldn't you do more than what you're doing to sell more? People forget. It's not a fix-all pill. You've got to work harder or smarter to get more done in life.
That's a great answer. Well, guys, I want to announce to everybody that for attending the webinar today, if you would like to get any of Fran's materials at frantaylor.net, if you want to use the coupon code Fran Taylor with a space, you will get a 15% discount on any of Fran's materials for the next few days. So please, go to frantaylor.net, check it out, and if you find something that you like there, use the coupon code frantaylor.net. Doug, I'd really like to thank you for attending today. this has been very educational, and I appreciate everybody who took the time out of their day to come here and learn more and better ways to make more money, and I hope you all find your way to 30 sales a month. Fran, thank you for taking the time, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Go sell some cars.
Yeah, you guys, if you'd like, come join us on 30 Sales a Month on Facebook. Just go to the top of it and punch in a request there. And if you like this meeting, we're going to do these like every 2 weeks. And these are all the people that I worked with. Our next guest will be Justin Stanger. Justin's awesome. He made $262,000 last year. So spread the word about us. And if you have any questions or anything, if we can help, you contact us. And I appreciate you all showing up. Thank you, Doug, and you all have a blessed day.
Hey,
actually, I want to add one more thing. With our one, it'll be 2 weeks from today with Justin, and the topics that we're going to cover. He does a whole lot of community involvement and a whole lot of like going out and if you're not really successful at doing that right now, this would be a great one to attend because he actually shared with me some stuff I'd never heard before when I spoke with him about this, and we're really excited to bring him to the table.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Hey, I just want to let these guys know, like with this next one coming up. Remember, guys, prospecting is like taking a bath. You don't have to do it every day, but it sure is recommended.
That's wonderful. Thank
All right,
you, Doug.
everybody, have a nice day.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, you have a nice day. Thanks for joining.